Hi, you guys. This is a 10-minute clip of a session that I posted about 6 months ago. The whole session is available to you. If you haven't seen it yet, I have the link below. This is with a client who suffered with binge eating for over 25 years. She had been seeking help previously to starting with me for binge eating. Had gone to Overeaters Anonymous, counseling therapy, studied sugar addiction. This client is a great example, I believe, of the real issue in terms of how misunderstood binge eating is, even in the medical and therapy community. She's extremely educated. She's is a nurse practitioner working with women, and she specializes in hormones. She found me actually after doing the HCG protocol and having great success with it, but finding that it had fueled her binge eating episodes and problems. Someone had suggested she read Weight Loss Apocalypse. She found, after reading the book, my YouTube videos, and from there contacted me. So our work together was pretty miraculous in that when she found me, she was in a position of real, like, she'd done all this research, done all this work. She had been working for years on trying to manage her issues with food, trying to control her food, and finding that it really didn't improve her recovery, and to a certain extent made it worse. And so by the time she came to me, she had suffered so greatly that she was really ready to take on the real issues with, self-worth and her issues with body image. And so this session is just so kick-ass. The 10-minute clip that I've kind of broken out for you to watch is her describing and both of us talking about how different her relationship with bad food is after the fact. Specifically, she's describing her eating a donut and how different the reaction to that donut was to previously. Again, this is our second session, so the way she was eating prior to our work, it is so fundamentally transformative. She realizes the shift that has happened after giving herself the experience of a donut. So it's a pretty powerful session, and I believe it is worth watching, which is why I am promoting this video. So if you have struggled with emotional eating, disordered eating, binge eating, and also shame around your weight and health, I think that's also really relevant in this YouTube video because she is in the medical field. She feels stigmatized by her weight. She's size 18, and she discusses that. So I really enjoyed this session, and I hope you do too. If you want to watch any of my most current YouTube videos, you're going to need to join our Patreon group that supports these videos, my most recent videos, and my current writing, which hopefully will be published this year and early next year. So if you would like to watch those, the link to the Patreon group is below as well. So the whole video is linked below, and as well as the Patreon group if you want to join. So enjoy. Well, and you're tasting it this time. I mean, before, tell the listener how that donut would have been eaten before. Well, first of all, you would have gone to the Little Debbie snack cake, right?
And it would have been like eaten, distracted by something else, because like a TV or a book or something like that, because I didn't want to explore my feelings at that moment of guilt and shame over stuffing these sweet things into my mouth. And then I would have felt regret. I would have felt icky because I wasn't really paying attention. I wasn't enjoying it as much. I wasn't paying attention. I would have overeaten and just felt physically yucky, and mentally yucky. And then,
And disengaged from the actual thing you're eating, right? You're disengaged with it because it comes with all of that shame and guilt and failure and inadequacy and pressure because now you feel that your body is getting fatter and that separates you from feeling success even further. So it just feels overwhelming, almost like suffocation. And then you're numb the whole day. Because I'm assuming too that you would have eaten that and then said, well, I might as well just eat what the hell I want today.
Yeah. And it's so almost, it is perverse. Like growing up, that was such a treat, a special treat, and you would savor it, and you'd have one, and then go outside and play, and it was such a bright spot in the day as a child, and through diet culture, it just has been warped to no longer be that thing. You're still craving that comfort and that emotional happiness that you remember from having that as a child or that satisfaction as a child.
And it doesn't do anything.
It's just tainted.
Yeah, it feels like you're a terrible person.
Yeah.
So anyway, instead of the Little Debbie snack cake, you go to the actual pastry and you order a donut, which before would have felt like you're doing something wrong. You've ruined it. You can't have that. You can't enjoy it. It's bad for you. You have all of this knowledge, right? Like how much knowledge and research have you put into food and healthy eating?
So many hours.
Right. So it's not like you're uneducated. Right. See, this is the funny thing about the stigma is someone from outside would have said, look at that. Would you say you're overweight? Are you obese? Like, where would you put yourself in terms of the definition of the body?
I'd say overweight to obese.
Okay.
Size 18.
Size 18. So someone who is health righteous is going to watch you go into a supermarket, buy a donut, and they are going to be like, oh, she's so dumb. She has no idea. She doesn't know about the preservatives and the gluten and the fact that that's got trans fats. Right? And that sugar is addictive. Like, that's the problem. Like, she has no idea. And they're going to assume you're uneducated. I've never met a binge eater who isn't super crazy overeducated about the food they're putting in their mouth. Right?
Yeah.
It's amazing to me that people, and you're the one that feels like it's true. Like, maybe I am. Maybe I don't want people to think that about me, but the people who think that about you, they're the ones that are ignorant and they're the ones that are uneducated, right? They have no idea how much knowledge it takes to feel bad to the degree that you do about a donut. Right?
Yeah. But that's the trick, right? I mean, once you know that you can sit at the table of abundance and enjoy that one donut, you don't want the whole dozen.
I know.
Because you can always come back to it.
You can have it the next snack. Yes. It's like saying, well, and even if you have one donut, you might only eat part of it and be like, oh, but you can have the rest later. So you don't have to eat it all right now because you can have it later and you can get another donut later if you want. And you can have donuts all day long if you want at the table of abundance. So all of a sudden, you, the listener, just think about that. If you can eat a donut every day, all day long, how does that feel when you think about that? Doesn't it kind of go, ew, that's a lot. Ew. And it's going to be that way permanently for the rest of your life. So all of a sudden the question is, well, really, do I want a donut right now? Because I have all of this abundance. Maybe you want to have a yogurt. Maybe you want to have, a McDonald's, breakfast sandwich. Maybe you want to eat, maybe you're not hungry and you just want some coffee. What if you want cream in your coffee? What if you want an Irish, something else?
Yeah, and that's another change that I've noticed. I used to be a member of the Clean Plate Club, right? I even got smaller plates so I wouldn't eat as much.
Do you hear the dysfunction in that? Get a smaller plate. What does that do to your brain? You're eating it on a small plate. How does that feel? Feels like shit.
Yeah.
It's like anti what you should be doing, but the concept of that small plate just to control you because you can't handle it. But really, the reason you can't handle it is because you've deprived yourself so much, you know, and you're coming from a state of actual deprivation as a child, and you're coming from a state of deprivation as an anorexic living a binge eating lifestyle, right? Oh my God.
Yep. And now my dog's my best friend.
Right?
Because I have what I want of that sandwich and give him the rest. Or package it up, put it in the refrigerator or something, you know?
Exactly. So there's no pressure and you should feel totally satisfied, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't it just, and it should feel so easy.
It does. And
right?
it's surprising.
Right? Well, remember when I told you we have this primal, ancient, evolutionary need to secure our food. It is the foundation of our psychology. Until you do it, you're going to have symptoms, right? Obsessive compulsiveness or need to organize. It's kind of like how humans survive for millions of years in seasons and having to store food. I mean, that's a huge part of our wiring, but we don't need it today. We live in abundance today. So when you see someone who has these primal inflammatory behaviors with food, it's clear that their food is being threatened. And we see this with people who diet. And some people are like, but I don't diet, it's a lifestyle.
It's a miserable lifestyle.
It is because you're living in a mammal state of famine, and that's not pleasurable at all. It's only pleasing to the ego if you're a narcissist and want to feel superior in it, right? And all that's doing is temporarily securing that tribal, need through superiority because you're so afraid of inferiority. So you're living in a state of terrible. I mean, being a narcissist is it's full of suffering. I mean, it is not fun for you or anybody around you. So going back for you, it's like the way that you got this freedom, we had to secure your body image, right? Because the shame about your size 18, the shame about your body is why your food was being, your food was being a war with food, right? Why it was being threatened is because you believed that you have to be thinner to be secure. So if you have to be thinner to be secure, that means you have to be in famine. So that third hierarchy of need is waging war with the first hierarchy of need. And you have this constant feeling of getting food, needing food, managing food, organizing food, avoiding food. I mean, it's insane the degree of work that goes into that. I mean, it's kind of amazing when you look at how much effort and work you put into studying about food, studying about cleanliness of food, organizing food, reading all those books about grain-free, gluten-free, dairy-free, inflammation, don't forget all of the, gut bacteria and all of this stuff, right? About Hashimoto's, thyroid function that you've studied. Look at all of the, maybe I have yeast overgrowth in my stomach. I mean, all of this stuff you've researched and studied, that effort that goes into that is your primal inflammation of that first hierarchy of need. So all of you who are obsessed about health, you are clearly inflamed in terms of your first hierarchy of need. All of that effort is what you would need to do if we were preparing for famine. It's amazing, right?
It is.
But it's torture.
What to do with myself now? I have all this free time.
I know, but you only had this freedom. I mean, I want to make sure that you're connecting, right, with the fact that the only reason you have this freedom is because you had to accept obesity. Permanently. Permanent, right? Because if this isn't permanent, like if you're in your mind saying, oh, someday I'll lose the weight, what happens to this freedom?
Well, it goes away because then the obsession starts all over again.
All of a sudden,
you're... despite all my best efforts, despite all of my education, I'm a healthcare professional. Despite all of that, I'm still obese. So it's like either I enjoy my life or I keep living the delusion that, this is going to work.
Yeah. I think that what you just said is so important, that despite your education, despite the obsessive compulsive research about food and effort, right? Your effort to lose weight is been so huge and massive that it created psychological strain problem.
Yeah.
I mean, so this isn't a lack of effort. This isn't a lack of education, right? You even bought into, let's just say, I'm assuming here when I say this because I don't recall that you thought you were addicted to food. Am I right? The addiction model.
I don't know if addiction would be. I bought into, I can't have gluten, I can't have sugar because that triggers me, sort of thing.
Okay, that's the disease model. That's the addiction model.
Yeah.
Yeah, and abstinence, right? How'd that work out?
It didn't.
Make things worse.
Yeah, exactly. In the end.
Yeah, in the end, it always makes things worse, and it makes your desire for those foods even more intense, and it makes your body more sensitive to those foods. So it actually is the worst thing you could do for your body to abstain from those types of foods. It's just terrible to that degree with that type of inflammation as the cause, right? So, what you said is that I've done all this and I'm still obese. Don't you agree that there's this weird illusion when you're in it, when you're in that body image, needing to fix the body, is there's this weird idea that you're not obese, that you're actually thin. And that when you become yourself in the thin person, there's this weird illusion that you're a thin person, that you're not obese. It's almost like you're disassociating from your body, like you're not attached to it because it's not thin. So you're almost not living in your body. It's like out of body.
Yeah, it's kind of like, the whole adage, I'm a thin person living in an obese body, and it's only a temporary condition, like a sickness. Yeah. Yeah,
that to me is really fascinating, too, that what you had to do is say, no, I actually am. The reality is that this is an obese body, that I'm not thin, that I'm obese, and I've been obese the whole time. What I find really fascinating, too, is that the diet culture creates this illusion that you're not, that your life will start over, that you'll be happy, that you'll feel fulfilled, that when you have the body you want, that you are. So there is this weird concept that, I'm not obese. I'm actually my thinner body. And so you don't actually acknowledge that you're in an obese body and people see your obese body and everybody you're affiliating with is accepting you. But in your mind, they're accepting the thinner body you're going to become. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Weird. It's really weird. It's like, no, I'm the thinner body. They're accepting the thinner body, even though at the moment I'm size 18. Right? Like you were saying, your mother-in-law. Like she's accepting you right now. Totally and completely. But there's this weird fantasy that her acceptance is actually when you're thin.
Yeah, or yeah, but in reality, most people, 99.9% of their time is devoted towards what they're doing, who they are, what their projects are, and they generally accept you as you are.
Mm-hmm. It's an illusion to think that when I'm thin, they are going to have this like, we accept you worship, right? There's this weird sense of worship.
And do you really want to associate with those sort of people that will only accept you when you're thin anyway,
Well, the fantasy isn't even, it's worship. It's not even acceptance, that I will be worshipped when I'm thinner, that I will be given this plaque of extra human ability, that I'm going to have this proof in my thinness that I am superhuman. And people will worship me. And there are people who want to be worshipped.
Or on another note, it's just acknowledged as a worthy human being, because over time the self-image and self-esteem gets so eroded away that you feel less than human. As long as you're not on the diet, you feel less than human. And